It says Psycho on YouTube, Mikopolis, and his best friend James.
Oh,
And this is a podcast because this
it
podcast
is.
is called Pajama Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And where we're going to talk about serious things, we're going to talk about games and all kinds of other stuff. So, what do you want to talk about first, James? You want to talk about games first or serious stuff first? It's going to be an hour long, so.
I want to talk about what did you have for breakfast?
I don't eat breakfast, actually.
Huh.
If you would count my breakfast, I had Chex Mix.
It's pretty good.
I mean, like just like a small bag of Chex Mix. So
What are your what are your opinions on Chex Mix?
I think the normal ones are. I used to never like Chex Mix, and Chex Mix has gotten pretty good to me, and I don't know, it just tastes good to me.
Damn, dude,
Some fucking
that's
serious content here.
that's so interesting.
Shut up.
You know what? Honestly, I don't really like Chex Mix.
Really? Well, fuck you.
I'm more of a Honey Nut Cheerio guy myself.
Okay.
Dude. Okay.
Okay.
Listen, you like Honey Nut Cheerios, right?
Oh, I love Honey Nut Cheerios.
So this is what you do.
This is our podcast. We're gonna talk about food.
Yeah. No. I thought it'd be funny. I thought it'd be funny if I just asked you about your breakfast. But no. Before I move on to the actual topics, here's what you got to do next time you have Honey Nut Cheerios, right?
I'm listening.
Instead of putting milk on them, just put more honey on them.
Oh, dude, that sounds fucking delicious.
It's just good. Like
It sounds
I don't have
really good.
I don't have any other way to describe it. Just put honey on Honey Nut Cheerios.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna have to try that.
Right? I used to do that all the time, but I stopped eating cereal. So
See, I have a question for you. Do
yeah.
you like? No, I'm not gonna say. Do you like rye toast?
Yes, I do.
See, everyone thinks I'm insane for liking rye toast, but I eat rye toast more than any goddamn person on the planet. I think
rye toast is delicious.
I can eat an entire roll, like a whole loaf of fucking rye toast, and I'd be none the wiser.
You know what? I agree with you.
Do you really?
I agree with you very much.
It's so good.
Rye toast is great.
Oh, I literally think it's the best thing on the planet. I'm so happy.
I don't know about that, but I agree that is good.
Oh yeah. So what were we talking? Oh, so games, right? What'd you have for lunch?
What did I have for lunch? I had leftovers.
What was your leftovers?
My nana made curry.
Ooh, curry's so good. What was in the curry?
It was I don't know. It was a mix of 2 packets.
Ooh, I want to make my own curry. So I started a whole new series called Mikopolis Attempts.
Oh, well, yeah, you did the chair.
Yeah, but I want to do other things because I can never succeed at doing something when I try to make something.
Right.
So I can't make something, so it'll be attempting. We attempt to make curry. That'd be really fun.
I understand.
Oh, that'd be really fun.
So it was curry on rice, and there was some leftover mashed potatoes. So I put half of the mashed potatoes on top of the rice, and then the other half was the curry, and I just heated it up.
Oh, that sounds really good, honestly.
I put before I put the curry on, I put a bit of salt and pepper and cayenne powder on the rice.
Okay.
And then I put the curry on.
Okay.
And you know what else? You know what else I did?
What?
After I heated up the curry and the rice and potatoes and everything, I put Parmesan cheese on top of it.
Okay.
It wasn't bad.
That sounds really good.
It was pretty good. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's the other thing. I said I don't eat breakfast really anymore, but that's only because I'm always just eating leftovers.
Oh, I get you.
Which is, it's efficient, right?
Yeah, it's super efficient. See, I don't really like leftovers. I like something new every day.
That's where you and I differ. I just eat whatever sounds good to me.
Right. And I have that same thing, but I'm a shit cook. So I really can't cook that much. I can make steak really good. That's like my crowning achievement is steak and rice.
And that's good. As long as you can make steak, you can be a man.
Yeah, Gabe came over the other day and he was like, make some mac and cheese. I was like, what?
Really?
How do I do this?
You had Gabe over.
Yeah, it was not recently. It was like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I see. Still though, that's interesting.
I love Gabe.
Yeah, I thought you kind of didn't for a bit there.
Oh, there's sometimes. Oh, I didn't want to have this conversation.
Oh, fair enough.
God damn it! Now I have to cut this out.
Well, I wasn't thinking about it.
You have to think.
Yeah, I was just.
Well, there was a hard time where I'll just be really honest. There was a hard time where sometimes Gabe and I didn't get along the best.
Right.
But we've been getting along super well. And
not to say that you didn't like him or anything, but it kind of seemed like he was just doing his own thing.
Right. He just does his own thing, and that's super respectable. I think that's the most respectable thing on the planet. You just go and do your own thing. And I think he just, like, once college hit, I just kind of didn't really talk to anyone from high school besides you.
That makes sense.
And so
I was the only one that wasn't going to college.
Right.
And so was
you were the only one who wasn't going to college, but you and I hung out every week.
Yeah, we did.
And we just like maintained that hanging out, but now since Corona came around, we really can't hang out.
Right. At least not as often as we used to.
Oh, I wish we could.
12 days have passed.
Right.
And you now have symptoms.
I really want to hang out more. Like I miss you.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, you can just talk to me.
I know, that's what we've been doing, so that's good.
And if I decide to answer, then you know.
It's okay. So everyone who doesn't know, James is super hard to get in contact with.
Right.
He's literally the hardest person to get in contact with. Like,
for anyone who doesn't know, because Mike probably cut it out, we were having a conversation about he doesn't like this. No, I'm just kidding. We were just talking about old friends.
Who were we talking about?
I don't know. Are you joking or are you just playing dumb?
No, I'm dead serious. Was it Gabe or were we talking about Gabe?
Yes, we were talking about Gabe.
I'm not cutting it out. I feel like a podcast should be a podcast.
Okay.
Because like I explained myself, like
yeah, and
like sometimes like when you're growing up, sometimes your shit just doesn't go together.
Right.
But now like all of our shit goes together, so it's perfectly great.
Gabe, I love you.
Oh, I love Gabe too.
Don't take this wrong. We love you, Gabe.
We really love you, and we love it when you crash our recording sessions.
Hello.
Hi, boys.
That's why you made your own server, huh?
No, I made my own server just so I can stream, and people don't have to be fucking annoyed by it.
It's not annoying.
Well, I mean, like, you get notifications when you're streaming.
That's their fault.
Right, and so I think this would be a nice... Because sometimes if we're having like a serious conversation, he just jumps in.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's funny.
It's funny as fuck. I think it's the funniest shit on the planet.
It makes for good content. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, and there's a bit there because I was the only one you were hanging out with other than Gwyn.
Oh yeah, I've never actually talked about Gwyn on here.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
I don't want to.
Okay, let's just leave it at Gwyn is his ex.
Yeah, Gwyn's my ex, and it went poorly.
Right.
Maybe later in a Draw My Life, or we talk about my life, we'll go over that, but not now.
We were together for like
4.5 years.
Yeah, it went poorly for 4.5 years.
Yeah, and okay, I guess we're talking about it now.
No, I just wanted to say that because it's funny to me.
Well, so this would probably be a teachable moment, honestly.
I guess I was just gonna say like, I mean we could talk about that, but all I was gonna say was like, other than her, I really was the only one you were hanging out with for like every week, and then you started to like hate me.
I was like, I'm so sick of this bastard.
Yeah, you just got like really I'm trying to think of a word, like
I just got tired, you know what
very
I mean?
overstimulated with me.
Yeah, I had to take a break, and then I'm like, oh, I miss him. Like after like a week, I'm like, oh, I miss him.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't care, I could fucking not see anyone for 3 years and be fine, but
you do that.
I guess I'll indulge him.
Oh, there's something I want to talk to you about off screen though, when we're done with this.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Something that fucking floored me today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it floored me. I was very, very like, oh, okay.
Okay.
But yeah,
go
so 4.5 years, I was sophomore in high school. I could not remember what school I was in.
Wow.
And so
you hated it that much.
Oh, I hated high school.
Your mind like blocked it out.
my high school years were the only good years of high school were my junior and senior years. Because I felt like I could be myself and I was finally accepting of myself.
Yeah, my
senior year was probably my best year because I was playing Persona 4 at the time.
Right.
And so if anyone who doesn't know, Persona 4 is all about like figuring out who you are and accepting who you are.
Right.
And I took that to heart. And I just kept going and I just accepted who I was. Like, I'm very flamboyant by nature. There's like nothing for me to be self-conscious about.
Right.
And all the people who in high school who like essentially kind of bullied me were gone. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's just. And not even like I was like in a lot of leadership positions because of choir and band.
Right.
And I just loved life. Like, it was super fun. Like, it was my best year of my life. And I think I think a lot of you didn't have a good senior year, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
It was very, very poor for you, and I feel bad. It was your fault. It was kind of your fault, kind of not your fault.
Right.
But so my 4.5 years, like the first 6 months, we fought every day. And
right.
At that point, I just thought to myself, my sophomore year, I was like, oh, I'm probably never gonna find someone else. And I had a lot of, I would say, yeah, I'll say it. I was very depressed about it because I thought that no one would ever like me. What?
Other than me.
Other than James. But I sat through a relationship that was very unhealthy. It was very unhealthy. For 4.5 years, it took 2 people who worked with me to tell me I was living in an unhealthy relationship, and I kind of didn't believe them at first.
Yeah.
Because when you first see it, you're just like, oh, I don't believe it. Like, I don't think I could ever believe it. But then you just like, I believe it now.
I gotcha.
And so I was going through it, and I was always mad. Like, I think I was angry most of my relationship with her. Because I felt like there was a point where I just thought I was like the stupidest human being on the planet. There was so much there. I thought I had a lot to offer, but I could never get my voice across because no one would listen.
Right.
And that was probably the hardest point. But the thing that really tipped it off was the fact that she was trying to turn my 2 best friends at the time, besides you, against me.
Right.
And that I couldn't deal with that personally.
Yeah.
Because what the fuck, first of all.
Right.
Like, why would you do this to me? Because, like, these 2 are my only, besides James, are my only.
It's always besides me.
It's besides you, because if she tried turning me on you, I'd be really pissed.
Yeah. Well, Gwen actually liked me.
Right. And she didn't like Grayson. I felt bad for Grayson.
Right.
Like, she hated Grayson.
Yeah, Grayson was always a little weird around her anyway. I don't think
because he didn't trust her.
Right.
Like, he was very open. Like, at the end of it, he goes, I didn't trust her. He goes, I thought he was bad for you, but I just didn't want to say anything because you're always so angry.
Right.
And I felt bad because, like, I was very angry.
Yeah.
And so what I took out of it was the fact that you have to be able to accept yourself and love yourself and know that there are more people out there.
Right.
Because I wouldn't
literally billions.
Literally billions of people. And I was so happy to find Hannah.
Yeah, she's pretty swell.
Hannah got me through so much, and she still helps me get through so much. Because, like, at this point, it's just trauma. Because you start to realize things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in a healthy relationship, you're like, this is weird. Why is this not a fight? Or, like, shit I'd say, like, in a different relationship was a fight, but in this one, it's a joke.
Right.
And I'm not one to say, like, everything's offensive. Like, I can be very vulgar at times. James knows that.
I am literally the least hard person to offend in the entire world.
Right.
The only time I'll ever get mad at you is if you're like actively trying to be like a douchebag.
Exactly. This
If
is
you're
taking
just-
a weird turn to our situation of a podcast. But this is the serious stuff, so we'll talk about the serious stuff. And we'll go into... I wanted to talk about Alzheimer's and dementia as well.
Yes, we were talking about that in the Sonic playthrough. We said we were going to keep talking about it. But,
Right. So we went to a podcast to talk about it. This podcast is probably going to come out every Sunday.
I'm alright with that.
Because I feel like we have so much to talk about because you and I just sit there and talk.
We do that. It's true.
And I like our arguments, honestly.
Yeah. We contrast each other pretty nicely.
Yeah. But it's like it's not like an unhealthy argument. It's a very like systematic. We have our own opinions and we are willing to listen to each other.
No, it's unhealthy. As soon as we get off camera, we just start screaming at each other.
We just start fucking.
Scream fucking. Yeah, that's how it goes. Well, I mean, might as well say it early.
Right. I think one thing Hannah doesn't understand about me is I'm a theater kid, and I'm very okay with just undressing.
You are a theater kid. I am technically the same way, but I'm also not a theater kid.
Right. So when I was in theater, like,
show choir.
they hazed me so bad.
Theater did things to you.
Theater changed me. Like I came out with like the pussy, like I'm so scared, and the theater came around as like, you're a fucking bitch, man up.
Yeah.
But yeah, theater was probably one of the best experiences of my life because I met so many awesome people.
Same, except I didn't stay friends with any of the people I met in show choir.
Oh, show choir is amazing. We were in show choir together.
Well, we had always been doing stuff together since middle school,
Yeah.
even if we didn't really super friends then.
We became super friends like senior year.
Yeah, even
junior year we started becoming really good friends.
even junior year, yeah. Well, before you, and I think I've talked with you about this. I used to be really good friends with Ben Cousins.
I know. Yeah, you told me about this.
And I haven't talked to him in like a year.
Wow.
The last time I saw him was at his graduation party. Well, we just kind of like stopped hanging out, man. I don't know why.
The thing is about me is I don't go to graduation parties.
Right.
I personally don't like parties.
Mm.
I get anxiety meeting people.
Right.
And
which is weird because you think I'd be the type of person that would, considering how
quiet and like how soft spoken and how you just don't go out.
Right, but I totally don't.
Right. You love meeting people, and I love meeting people too, but I have to like build myself up to meet people.
Right.
And I think it's just like social anxiety because of I used to not be this way. You remember me? I used to be super like I love meeting new people.
I do remember that.
And then BW happened.
Yeah,
I went to Baldwin Wallace. Holy shit, that fucked me over.
Right. It's true.
Like,
you went through a couple things there.
I went through a lot everywhere.
I was there to see it all.
You experienced like just me crashing.
Yeah.
I had the biggest like crash and burn moment ever.
Right.
But in the end it helped me because I learned how to talk to people better.
It's true.
Well, so I guess we can talk about BW.
I guess if you want.
Well, I don't feel like I have anything to hide. I like the idea of not hiding anything. And
then all the people from BW see this podcast.
And they're like, what the fuck? This fucking asshole.
What the fuck is this shit? Yeah, go ahead.
So I had 2 really good friends in BW. I had 3 really good friends, and one of them I still talk to like every so often.
Oh, really?
Yeah, her and I just like randomly, like I randomly shoot her a text, she randomly shoots me a text, and we talk.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. But yeah, go ahead.
But during the situation, like her and I, like these 2 girls were like my best friends of BW, and we were friends for like a whole year.
Right.
And so when you become friends with people, you get closer and you say things like, oh, they're not going to get offended, they're my friends.
Like they know I'm joking.
Yeah. But so...
even though you weren't making a joke?
I made like an honest statement that turned awry.
Yeah, it turned very awry. Well, here's my take on it, and you've heard my take. Is like, yeah, it was kind of a dumb thing to say. It was right.
Oh yeah,
It was
I
kind
know.
of dumb thing to say, but the reaction that you got from it was totally 100% blown out of proportion from what any normal human being should have reacted to that
Oh,
situation.
absolutely.
Um,
So the story goes, these two girls were my best friends. I'm not gonna say their
right,
names because I don't want to fuck them over. I have a lot. I have to have a lot of respect. I have to forgive and forget, right?
right,
During that whole time at BW, I had my first ever like therapy sessions.
right,
Like I had a counselor and he was super helpful. I was learning how to control things
right.
and he was helping me a lot. He was an amazing therapist.
Mm-hmm.
His name was
Whereas,
Baron. Baron Rogers is his name. If you ever can find him, get him as a therapist. Because he he explained things in ways that I would understand. Like he would compare it to either My Hero Academia or different animes.
right,
And he's like, well, this, and this, like All Might, Deku, and like he watched the series.
right. See, I've never had uh, I've been going to therapists and counselors my whole life just because I have ADHD, and early on it was to help kind of decide like, oh, what dosage should we get? Let's figure out who he is as a person, like of like the ADHD meds and stuff. But now I just like keep going to him because it's healthy.
Right, it's super healthy.
But I've never had one that's cool enough to like fucking watch anime.
Well, yeah, he was super cool, and I was so sad because he had to leave that year, but I left anyway, so it's fine. And he was helping me get through it all. And so I was trying to figure out myself still. Like freshman year of college, you're like, okay, this is a whole new scenario. You can't be a fucking who you were in high school. Like there's something's got to change because some things are not approved to be said.
Right,
But this girl sent like a Snapchat of a picture. She goes to all the guys. She was wearing a crop top that day.
right.
And I probably can get blown out of proportion for this by saying this, but I don't really care.
If anyone even hears it, but like, yeah, no, it's fine. Go ahead.
She said like, whoever, all the guys gawking at my stomach, please stop staring at it. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah,
honestly, like that's a very like honest statement. Like, good for you. Like, defend yourself. Be super cool about it.
but she was wearing a crop top when she said it.
No, she sent it with just like basically a picture of her stomach,
Right,
and then I said the thing that everyone thinks
right,
because I thought she was like my really good friend,
right.
and she went, "How dare you?" Yada yada yada. I don't remember because that's not the point. But I'm like, at one point, it is the point.
Well, but you didn't say it. Basically, you were like, if you don't want people to stare at your stomach, why are you showing them your stomach?
Exactly.
Like right now.
Like
uh,
that in my mind didn't make sense
I
unless
mean,
you
yeah,
want
it
like
totally makes sense.
right,
It's rather maybe a brash way of putting it, but it makes sense.
right. And so an hour passes, and the other friend threatens to slit my throat.
Right, right. No, like here's the thing. Before you get, it's like it's so you think about that statement, right? And you think, maybe I could have phrased it better, but maybe they'll get a little, be like, dude, that was kind of rude or whatever.
Right.
But
If
then
they
the
would have said
friend's
that,
like,
this would have been fine.
you'll
Like,
kind
hey,
of just get
like,
over it, and maybe it'll lead to a discussion or something. But
right.
like
But
then the
that's
next thing you're about to talk about happens.
you're right. Like you could have. There could have been so many different situations where you could have fixed it, or just like talked normally. Like you could have talked and have a civilized conversation, and be like, why this is wrong, and why you shouldn't say it.
Right, but the issue is she went to her like super ultra feminist friends about it, right? Isn't that what
Right.
happened?
Like essentially, yeah. And she basically called me pro rape.
Right,
Told the whole school I was pro rape, and I lost all respect and everything from BW.
right,
Like if I would have continued to go to BW, there was no chance of me exceeding or
right,
succeeding at all. And I said this is bullshit because I tried all of my pathways to make up for it.
right.
Like I waited, I gave them time. I was like, "Hey, I'm just really sorry. Like I'm super sorry. I didn't know." Because when you are a guy, you don't really understand that.
Right.
But
As
I wanted to learn,
right.
and I learned later because people taught me and told me how to to react in those situations, because when you're in high school, you're just like, oh, this is all new. But then you go people who have lived through shit that you don't know about, and you're like, oh, I'm so fucking sorry.
Right.
And that situation just went completely awry. I even apologized, and they told me I would never understand it, even if it was explained to me.
Which is, again, counterintuitive.
Right. I'm like, I just want to help.
Right.
And so BW happened, and I kind of like didn't know what to do. I started working at camp. I changed my majors and everything. I changed to special ed, and then I did 2 years of special ed, and then I switched to psychology.
Right.
And everyone's like, why did you switch to psychology? It's because I have theories that I want to like write on paper. Like, my goal in life is to get a PhD.
Right.
And if I have a PhD, I'd be pretty happy.
A pretty hard dick.
Yeah, I always have that. It's hard right now.
Hey, dude. Good for you, man.
Thanks.
I'm so happy for you. Anyway, yeah, that's neat. I have respect for that, honestly.
What, psychology?
That, and you're like, just like, yeah, I'm gonna work and get a fucking PhD.
Right,
like,
I like to work. That's one of my favorite things to do is work. I love doing YouTube because I'm constantly working.
See, that's where you and I differ.
You don't like to work as much.
I like certain types of work, but I hate work. So I don't really know. I don't have a good way of putting it. I've never really thought about how to put it before, but it's just like I like stuff where I get to be creative and I get to like I like to see that I'm making a difference in other people.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with that 100%.
When I was working at Royalton Woods,
right?
I don't know if we ever talked about this. I think I've talked about this with like my mom and like maybe a counselor, but like they would never tell me. And let me say this: we're working at Royalton Woods.
Royalton Woods is a nursing home. Is
a assisted living home. It was fun. I loved my coworkers. They were hilarious. A lot of the I'm sorry, we're not allowed to call them old people. They're residents.
It doesn't matter now.
Right, it doesn't matter now, but I just think it's funny. But
we call a lot of them were a lot of so.
Yeah, a lot of them were a lot of fun to have banter with, and like I said, my coworkers were hilarious and we got along really well. The only issue is like I was never told if like I was doing a good job or if I wasn't doing enough.
Oh, that's horrible.
They gave me these tasks like when you go there, and I was a dietary aide, so I was working in the
food department.
The cafeteria, and I was basically like a waiter. I would take orders and then serve food, and you would get one of two jobs. You would do a waiter that would serve food and then bus and clean the tables afterwards, or you do a waiter that would serve food or take orders and serve food for both, and then clean the dishes afterwards. And each of them had different things they had to do and put out. Like the one would put the food and drinks out on the table, one would do the dishes and clean all the stuff and put it away. And they would assign you that, like, just based on who was available or not. And then they just give you your schedule. But like, I would get these assignments and be like, all right, you need to do this amount of dishes, or and they didn't really say it. It's just like, before your shift ends, like, get care of all these dishes, you know? But they never told me like, oh, you're doing it too slow, or oh, you're overworking yourself. Like, they never told me that.
Okay.
As much as I loved like interacting with them otherwise, like they're fun people. There's just like my supervisors never told me if I was doing a good job, and you know, I'm not a very anxious person, but that gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
See, if I don't know if I'm doing a good enough job, or if I'm doing, or just like if I could be doing better, you know what I mean? And as much fun as it was to work there, it just didn't make me feel good.
Right. Because you just don't have the satisfaction of knowing if you're doing well. I had my manager, my old assistant manager, at where I work, was worse. She would just always tell you you're doing a bad job no matter what.
Right, but at least that's something.
No, you know, like, it's not even that. Like one day I handled 3 behaviors, changed a exorbitant amount of depends, or if you don't know what a depend is, it's like an adult diaper.
Right, that's true. You were doing a bit worse things than maybe I was.
And I was cleaning up like a ton of shit that day, like literal shit, like off the floors and stuff.
Yeah.
And she would have favorites and tell them they're doing a good job when they're just sitting on their phones all the time. And thankfully, my coworker, who is now my boss, Dana, was always, I love Dana so much. I don't mind saying her name. She is amazing. She is probably one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met.
If you don't say her last name, it's fine.
Right. She would always pull me aside, and she was like, "You're doing a really good job, and everyone really appreciates you because you're always working." But this one lady just had it out for me because I was friends with her, because no one in the business liked Dana at the time, because she always just spoke her mind.
Right.
And so, that being stated, I felt more confident in my work, and I kept doing my work, and I kept doing my work. And then later on, I wish I could do this now. I would stay late. Almost every night doing something. I'd be either doing files or be doing paperwork. I think the latest I've ever been there on an actual work day was 11 o'clock at night. I worked from 8 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night.
That's a big shift.
Like, because we were having an audit coming up, and our one manager needed help, and she's super amazing. And her and I literally sat there doing paperwork from 4 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night because we were getting prepared for this audit to make sure everything was correct and everything was right. And that whole week, I was just there late, like 8, 9 o'clock. Nice paycheck.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can definitely imagine that.
But the reason I'm jumping back to the psychology major.
Right.
Is because I believe James and I have watched Shield Hero.
Yes, we have.
I'm currently rewatching Shield Hero. It's my favorite anime of all time.
I think
James thinks it's okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it definitely less than you did, but I think it was still good. I think the story got a bit convoluted up once they got past the princess.
Oh, Melty?
Like, oh, what's the show about now? You know what I mean?
Oh, the show's about the Calamity still.
Right, but up until then, there was such a focused goal of like beating this bitch. You know what I mean?
But
like,
now, but this is really interesting to me because I took it a step further and looked deeper into the characters, because I thought Naofumi is just trying to learn how to be a good person again.
Right.
And then he meets like the two other people from the other kingdom who are trying to save their world, and that brings up like a whole new like what the fuck is happening, because
that's the thing I didn't enjoy, is they just haven't explained it yet.
Right, and I'm looking. It's explained in the manga. Like, it's explained in the manga.
Well, right, I know that, but like I don't know.
But now, like I could literally do a psychological term called like the Shield Hero syndrome, because you're doing so many good intentions, but everyone thinks you're doing bad. Because because you don't relate to Naofumi as much as I do.
Yeah, well,
because
you've gone through more shit like that.
Right, because as soon as bitch, that's her name now.
Yeah,
her name is bitch in the show.
Right,
was like he raped me and stuff like that. I was like, holy fuck!
Right,
like that didn't happen.
It was certainly a good like. You know, I don't like when things do shit like that just for shock value, but it certainly did break the mold of tame anime recently.
Right. And then that just conspired him being like super like cynical, and that's where I was for a long time. I was very cynical about life because I couldn't trust people.
Right.
And then I met people like Dana, Hannah, you have always been there. But I've met people who have been like just realized it's okay to trust people again.
I've always been that annoying thorn in your side.
Oh, always. I can't get rid of you. I try using tweezers, can't get you out.
Yeah,
but
I'm always I gotta keep you sharp. Gotta keep you on your toes. Gotta keep you focused.
But another driving factor in psychology right now is focusing on Alzheimer's and dementia. Like most of my classes are brain and cognition, and understanding the damages.
Right.
Because this is my first time fully going through dementia and Alzheimer's. And
yeah, like I am going through dementia and Alzheimer's.
Right, my grandma is, and I'm experiencing it through like the window.
Right.
And you can obviously tell that she's scared and other things, but it's hard to get that concept because you just get angry.
Right.
Because you're just trying to help as much as you can and you can't. And you're trying to do things that will help her in the future, and she doesn't understand that because she thinks she's fine. She doesn't think she's senile. She doesn't think anything of it.
Right.
And that's what makes it more difficult. Because
like, how could you think that when your thoughts about you remembering that you've forgotten stuff are being forgotten?
Right. It has almost been 8 years since I've been going through this.
Right.
And every day is actually getting harder, in my opinion, because it's always something different. Like, we had a whole time where I had to turn off for water.
Right.
Because, okay, everyone's going to think I'm bad for doing this. But I had to turn off, like, doctor's orders was a turn off for shower because she couldn't shower for 6 weeks.
Because she had, like, a thing on her foot.
She had a huge hole in her foot. Like, I still have pictures. I don't know if I showed you those pictures.
I've seen it. I was there when you treated it.
That was when it was better.
Oh, fair enough.
But when me and my sister, my brother-in-law, my mom, and my niece and all the kids were there because we were cleaning out her grasses and trying to cut them down just so she get ready for summer so all the new ones can grow in, you know, like the tall grasses, like the super tall, like very decorative grasses. And my sister walked into the bathroom and just saw a shit ton of blood, like more blood than you should see in the bathroom, which is none.
Yeah, every once in a while, a little is fine. Like, oh, they hit the
like they stubbed their toe or something, or they had like a nosebleed.
Yeah.
Just there's so much blood. And we looked at her foot. I gagged so badly, like I almost threw up. And I'm so used to dealing with actual shit. Like the foot was so infected and smelled horrible.
Right.
It smelled like worse than a corpse.
Yeah.
And I just had to walk away, and thank God my brother-in-law, is he works at UH and he does more of the radiations. He works the radiation machines,
right,
and stuff like that. And he's like, I'll just take a look at it. And we had to go to the doctor the next day, and the doctor said basically her wound is too wet, and you need to wrap it every day, and you have to just change everything, like you turn off her shower.
How did she get it? It was it like some sort of like
it was a pressure wound.
Oh,
because her shoes were bad, and her feet, like when you get older, like your skin gets thinner and everything, and it just ripped open one day. And she is also now a pre-diabetic, which also instills like you can't, like she has like lost feeling in her legs, so she really can't feel it.
So she didn't notice it, and it just got worse and worse.
She just kept going. She just didn't notice it. And I think she like cleaned it up one day, and then she like sees it again. She forgets what happened.
Right.
And so that was the first time I ever experienced like really hard dementia, was when I turned off her water.
Right.
You remember what happened?
Probably not.
Well, so I was turning off the water, and she took her cane and hit me in the face.
Oh, right.
And that's the first time I ever lost my temper with my grandma too, because like you hit me in the fucking face. How fucking dare you?
Right.
Like this is a moneymaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I was so pissed, and I know I couldn't be pissed, and I was upset with myself because I was mad.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like working with my clients. You can't get mad if they have a behavior. But
they don't know any better.
They don't know any better. And my grandma's mental age right now is the age of like a 5-year-old.
Right.
But when you grow up with someone, you remember her as something, and then they do that, because I was always the favorite. Like I was known as the golden child,
right,
for my grandma, and that golden child thing, like I thought was like would reign over, but it didn't. She went to primal instincts and hit me in the face.
Yeah,
and that was really hard for me to comprehend, because I just went to my coworker's house like immediately, and I was like, I don't know what to do in this situation. Like I'm trying to calm down. And we just sat there and we talked for a while, and this was Dana again.
Yeah.
Because Dana's been there for me for everything, and I try to be there as much as she needs me. Because that's what we have to do. We have to be... Like, when you get... Okay, this is another thing I believe in, strictly. Like, if someone helps you, you have to help them back.
Right.
Like, you have to be open to help them, because if you don't, you sound like a cynical bastard. That's all... You're only thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's just, like, in and of itself, is a whole storm of emotions and everything else.
It's understandable.
I don't know where we're gonna go with this, but Alzheimer's is super hard, and everyone who's going through it, I feel for you. Like everyone has a different level of Alzheimer's. There can be people who get really aggressive, and some people who just cry all the time. Like there's so many different functionalities in Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah.
It's almost like I could compare it to autism and all that stuff because there's a wide variety of people. There's people who can't talk to people who are super high functioning, who can't see or can't drive a car or can't even walk.
Right.
And that makes life difficult.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever talked about it, but I experienced it a little bit with my great grandma, Grandma Gigi, or we just called her Gigi. And she never got as bad as your grandma, or at least I never saw her get that bad. But when she did start to like kind of forget things or be a little forgetful here and there, it was just sad. Like I remember her being never super active or anything like that, but she was always very kind and thoughtful. Whenever you'd go over, she'd make you food and like
Right.
chat you up and be like, "Oh, hey, you've gotten so big, and oh, I'm so proud of the man you've become." Yada yada. Even if you were like 11, like fucking like, "Oh, you've grown up so much,"
Right.
like
That's
kind
super
of
awesome.
right.
My grandma was not that way.
She's just that kind of grandma.
But what you learn is a weird thing about Alzheimer's is it shows who they truly are in their core. And that's what my mom was talking to me about actually, because her hitting and all this stuff was all my mom's childhood.
Right.
And this weekend when she tried hurting me and all kinds of other stuff, I had to make a strong decision.
Right.
And like, as you know, my birthday's coming up. It's not for another month. And maybe I'll change my mind in the time because this is July 16th?
Yeah.
My birthday is in 2 days, is a month from now. As you should know because you're my best friend, fucker.
Of course I do.
Shut up. But my mom and I were talking, and I had to make a decision of if I wanted her at my birthday or not.
Right.
Because in that situation, I don't know if she's gonna have a freak out at our house or anything else.
Yeah.
And just the fact that she put my niece in danger, I had to say no.
Yeah.
And that was super hard for me, and I'm still trying to get through it right now.
Right, I understand.
And I know this is very serious. This is a very serious first podcast, isn't it?
We said we were gonna get serious. I mean, we started off talking about cereal,
and now we were talking about Alzheimer's and dementia.
And we were talking about kind of our jobs a bit, which was kind of fun too. But like, yeah, I mean, like I said, and she never got to that point, but just seeing her kind of
devolve.
Yeah, even just a little bit, like just not being aware.
Speaking of the fucking devil, she just called me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Let me pause and I'll be right back. We're gonna pause. I better call her back just in case.
All right, fair enough.
Because one time she called me and she got into a car accident. She doesn't have her car anymore. Let me just specify this. She doesn't have a car anymore. I took it and then I crashed it.
Oh.
You know the story.
I think so. I don't remember it.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I also have to pee again.
Okay, fair enough.
See, I just got off the phone with my grandma now. This is also a very prominent part. I didn't know if she was going to be yelling at me or she just had a question. And this time she mixed up my niece and my sister's birthdays. She just like, is Rosie's birthday in July? I was like, no, Sammy's birthday is in July. Rosie's birthday is in March.
That's not so uncommon.
That's not so bad, but she like, but I think at this point, I think she's making up information and writing it down in notes, and then she reads it again and believes it.
Yeah, there's an issue.
There's several issues with that. Like just yesterday, my poor sister had to go over there because of me being exposed to COVID. I couldn't do everything that my mom needs me to do because I don't want to get my grandma sick.
Right.
And that's respectable in many ways. And I don't think I probably don't have COVID. I was barely near this person, but I don't want to risk it.
I understand.
But she was screaming at my brother-in-law, threatening to kill him, and stuff like that. And it goes from 0 to 100 way too quickly because we had to put a lockbox, essentially like one of those clear cases that are over air thermostats on her in her house.
Right.
Because she keeps turning it off, and we've been having 90-degree days in Ohio.
Yeah.
And she'll die. She'll essentially die from overheating.
Yeah, it's true.
And my office is freezing as fuck. I think we should have blankets down here.
Or you could just not have it be as cold.
It's the basement and there's no walls.
You could just turn the thermostat down when you're in the basement.
Oh, I do. And it's still freezing.
You could open some windows.
What windows?
There are windows in the basement.
Yeah, but there's no windows I can get to, and they're all glass pane.
Yeah, but they have those little flaps, don't they?
No, they don't.
Oh, they're just glass?
Yeah.
Oh, I could have sworn.
Nope.
Well, you could bring a heater down there.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should both buy a heater for this place.
That'd make the gaming room pretty comfy.
Yeah, I know. So we're not freezing our asses off the whole time. Like, I'm shivering right now.
Or you could just keep just not use the air conditioning and use fans if you need it.
I can't. I have to have air conditioning on. I have a problem with overheating too.
But I thought you said the basement is always cold.
Right, the basement is always cold, but the air conditioning goes through the whole house. And upstairs will be scorching. That's the problem. It's like a double-edged sword. Like, I can be cold. I usually have a blanket over me, or I put on pajama pants.
I think you can figure something out.
I'll figure something out eventually.
So I don't have to freeze my ass off.
Well, you and I can just put drywall in here.
Yeah, but that would ruin the hilariousness of the room.
It's super funny, but I do want walls in here so I can put in soundproof.
I understand.
Because that would be very useful to me.
Right. Yeah, I was going to talk about my Grammy.
Oh, go ahead.
What was I saying? Yeah,
I
so like
yeah, talking a lot.
I mean, you pretty much said all you needed to say, right? Unless you wanted to talk about something else.
I mean, if you want to talk about games, we can. And give it something lighter.
Right. Well, I figure since
talk about your Grammy, then we'll talk about games for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I figure we're on the topic, and I mentioned it earlier, in the Sonic playthrough. I really have so much respect for her. I mean, she's literally like the strongest woman I know. My family has gone through so much shit. Just on all the sides. My dad's side, my mom's side, my stepdad's side. So, and my Grammy is my step grandma. Let me clarify that. I just call her Grammy. Very sweet, tiny, little Hungarian woman, right?
Hungarians.
She is so sweet. You go over to her house and she always has like chicken paprikash or cookies or something just ready to go. And she'll feed you and like talk with you, and she's just so sweet. And she's very tiny, and I'm like 6'2", so hugging her is very cute. But she has been through so much. So she has lost 2 husbands, 3 sons. One of her grandchildren was going through leukemia, so she had to worry about that. And there's just so much.
He's fine, right?
Huh?
He's fine, right?
Oh yeah, he's cool now. I was just hanging with him the other day. He actually had to when I was watching my sister's house, he slept over the one day because I had him over and he had to be somewhere in the morning, and it was closer there than it was from where he was staying, so he just slept over, which was fun. But he slept. Well, that's the interesting part is he slept through that whole cat conundrum that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how he managed to do that because the cats were literally like screaming at each other. I don't know how he slept through that whole thing, but it was just funny. But anyway, yeah. So she had to deal with all that, and she still is. I mean, she's getting worse, but she's still pretty functional.
I got you.
So I just have more respect for her than any other like person in the world because she's gone through so much and still has time to like spoil her grandchildren, you know. Yeah, the one son, my stepdad's brother, is the reason why I tell people to brush their teeth because I don't know if he didn't brush his teeth or if he just neglected it a bit, but he got a single cavity and the cavity got infected and the infection spread to his brain and he just died. Like,
wow.
Like that. And that's how he died. Like, so that's why I just tell people to fucking brush their teeth.
Yeah, it's super important.
That's so fucking tragic, man.
That really is tragic.
Right. My stepdad used to tell us about how his dad died. He.
God damn, we just changed subjects completely.
Yeah, well, no, I mean it's still about old people and.
Want to save this one to the next episode and talk about some games for a bit?
You can save it. I don't have to talk about it. But anyway,
I'd like to end on a lighter note than more of a depressing note.
No. I understand. We don't have to talk about that. But basically, I'm just saying I have a lot of respect for my Grammy. She just fucking rules.
Right. That's super awesome.
Yeah.
I have respect for your Grammy.
Yeah. And you've never been. Oh, I think she'd like you.
I think we would get along great.
Yeah. She is always asking you about how, like, oh, how's your life going? Or are you still talking to that one person? Or are you still doing this thing? You still like to play with Legos like you used to when you were a kid? Or yada yada, blah blah blah. And just like little stuff like that. It's just fun to chat with her about. Yeah, it's just like all the shit she's gone through, like no other person should go through, and yet she's still like living her life, man.
Right.
I don't know how she does it. Yeah, so speaking of death, we could talk about like Persona a bit. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, we could, or you want to talk about anything else?
Right.
We talked a lot about Persona and Sonic.
We didn't talk about this when we were talking about Persona in the second episode of Sonic. Persona 3 is actually my favorite one.
I love Persona 3. I think Persona 5 graphically is my favorite. Persona 4 has a special place in my heart.
Of course it is graphically the best. I mean, it's the newest one.
Right, but that's not what I mean. Like, I think the story was really good and I got really attached to everyone.
Aesthetically?
Yeah, it was aesthetically pleasing.
Right, because the graphics are different each one, but they each have their own unique, really good aesthetic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 3 is just my favorite because it makes me feel the most. And I really enjoy it when a game can make me feel something because I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, I enjoy when games can make me feel something because like sometimes it's hard to like they're not real, right? So it's like, oh well, it's just a bunch of characters like with fake personalities and stuff. So it's like sometimes it's hard to like really feel anything about it. I was like, oh, this is fun,
Right.
But the Persona series has always been really good at making the characters feel real because they actually spend time on like the voice acting and the story and stuff like that. But 3 is just like, wow, a lot of sad shit happens in that one.
Yeah, I think it's predominantly sad shit.
Right. Not to say that I like if that's the thing about it, it's not that I like sad shit, but I like when games can make you feel sad. You know what I mean? Like I think that's really cool. Because like any other medium, it's like, oh, you're watching it, but like when you're playing a game, it's like it feels like it's you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because like you're the one interacting with it. And I think 3 does the best job with just like making you go through those emotions.
Oh yeah, definitely, because you feel everything.
Right. And you haven't even beaten it, so you don't know everything that happens.
No, I'm about to replay it though.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to replay it because now I'm more in a JRPG mood and I can do things better, I think, in my opinion.
Right. Well, that's the reason I want them to remake 3 is because it has such a good story and concept, but the gameplay has just really not aged well at all.
Yeah.
It is very unbalanced, very grindy.
Oh, super grindy.
Very samey.
Yeah.
But it certainly started a very good it set a very good template for the rest of the series going forward.
Right.
What
wait, we gotta talk about something really quick. What do you think about Nintendo's Direct on July 20th that's about to come out?
Well, that's a rumor.
I thought it was officially announced.
No, that never happened.
I really want to talk about Breath of the Wild 2.
Breath of the Wild 2 is cool. Do you still think it's going to be a sequel? Or, I mean, excuse me, a prequel?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I thought that was bullshit. I honestly have no idea how you would ever think it was going to be a prequel, because we already know what happens before the game starts.
Right. See, I want them to talk about several different things. I think there's a lot of things they can talk about in this Nintendo Direct.
Right. I watched a video yesterday that was very interesting to me, and it was about will Zelda ever actually become queen?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right.
Maybe they'll talk about Shin Megami Tensei 5 in the Direct.
I doubt it.
That'd be funny as fuck.
Dude,
you know how funny that would be? It'd be like, hey, Shin Megami Tensei, and you're like, what the fuck? This thing is still happening?
It's so funny because they announced it when at like the very first Switch conference, and we just haven't heard anything since. That was so funny to me.
See, I want them to remake Super Mario Sunshine.
That'd be fun.
Or I want them to talk about Breath of the Wild. I want to see more of Ganondorf because he was definitely hinted at.
Doubt that they won't talk about Breath of the Wild 2 sometime soon.
Right, because I hope that comes out soon.
I think I've talked about it a little bit with you, but I have a couple hopes for the game that I
hope Ganondorf's playable.
That'd be nice.
No, I've always had this talk, and I always said, like, Bowser's Inside Story did it perfectly when you're like just playing as Bowser and you get to experience shit as Bowser.
Right.
However, I think one of the most amazing things would be watching Ganondorf go to power. And just see if he was good at first and then gets corrupted, or he's corrupted the whole time.
Well, that's the whole theory about this Ganon, is it's like he was just an ordinary person, but because he was the male Gerudo that got born, everybody automatically assumed that he was going to become evil, so they just prematurely like imprisoned him and sealed him away, and that anger of him being so unjustly treated is what made his malice become so powerful as to become such a monstrosity. Like, right. That's the theory, which is I think is really cool.
Oh yeah, it's a whole new take. I like how Zelda's their serious game.
Right. What was I going to say? Yeah, so my hope for it is there's a couple things, right? Underwater exploration would be dope, because there is so much water in Breath of the Wild. And there is fucking even underwater exploration in, like, Skyward Sword, right? If I'm remembering correctly?
Right.
And then they just, like, didn't do it, and it was their perfect chance to make it good. Because underwater exploration has never really been good. But with how beautiful the aesthetic is of Breath of the Wild, and the fact that you can just go anywhere, like, being able to see, like, oh, look at that cool lake there. I wonder if I go in and I'll find, like, a secret cave and get some treasure or something. Like, they had the perfect opportunity to do that. But no,
absolutely.
You can swim in lakes, but, like, that's kind of just it.
Well, I think we're out of time now.
Oh.
Yeah, we're at the hour mark.
Underwater exploration would be cool. I think it would be cool if they had themed dungeons and a bit more extra enemy variety, and I think it would be cool if it was a co-op game where one of you played as Link, one of you played as Zelda.
Ganondorf.
Well, he seems like he's going to be in the antagonist, though, but that would be cool if you could play as all three.
Right. Because he's good at first, and only Link and Zelda knew. But
co-op just sounds like fucking so good with the Breath of the Wild engine.
Right. So thanks so much for listening. I hope we're going to be doing this every Sunday, and it'll be out every Sunday, so look forward to that. If you have just an hour to sit down and listen.
We got a little serious there, but hopefully you leave off thinking about the majesty of the Breath of the Wild fields as opposed to dying grandmas.
Right. Have a good night, everyone.
Shoot, I just mentioned dying grandmas. Okay, let's talk about Zelda again so it takes it off their minds.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.